In the dusty town of Garun Malam, life followed a simple rhythm. The people rose with the sun, fetched water from the wells, and filled the market with the sounds of bargaining and laughter. Women braided each other's hair under mango trees, and young girls decorated their hands with henna for festivals and weddings. But one part of the town remained untouched, the old burial ground of Gopher Kuka. For generations, the people of Garun Malam had avoided the land behind the burial ground. Elders whispered that the place belonged to shadows and stories. The wind carried tales of strange sights and sounds, threads of voices that faded before you could turn your head. The ground was dried, and thorny bushes blew out, their branches reaching out like fingers warning people away. But Fadila, a spirited young woman of 22, had different thoughts. She had always been clever with her hands. Her braids were the tightest, her cornrows the neatest, and her henna design flowed like rivers of ink. Fadila dreamed of having her own salon. She wanted a place where women could come, not only to look beautiful, but to feel bold and alive. She spoke of this dream to her best friend Rabi one night as they sat under the stars, combing each other's hair. "There is no salon in our part of town," Fadila said, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. "Women walk all the way to the next village for simple braids. Why should we suffer like that?" Rabi sighed, "Because nobody dares to build one near Gopher Kuka. That place is not for the living." Fadila clicked her tongue. "That is just fear talking. Shadows cannot braid hair. Ghosts do not need hairstyles. Let me build my shop there. It is the only space I can afford." Her father had left her little when he died, and Fadila had saved every coin from washing clothes and fixing people's scarves at the market. With that money, she could rent a small mud house, sitting quietly behind the burial ground. Rabi hesitated. "People will talk. Let them talk," Fadila replied. "I'm not afraid of stories. I'm afraid of sitting idle while life passes me by." And so, early the next morning, Fadila carried her bag of combs, hair extensions, and henna powder to the empty shop. She swept out the dust, painted the walls pink, and hung small mirrors along the sides. She named it the Kia's Beauty Salon, after her late grandmother, who used to say, "Beauty brings smiles, not curses." She tied a scarf over her head, clapped her hands together, and whispered to herself, "Let the work begin." But for this, no one came. The news spread quickly through Garun Malam. Fadila had opened a salon behind Gopher Kuka. The market women whispered as they sold tomatoes and pepper. Old men muttered as they played ayok under neem trees. Children peeped around corners, daring each other to run past the new pink shop. "She must be foolish," some said, "or maybe too bold for her own good," said others. Fadila sat in her empty salon, braiding her own hair to pass the time. She watched the sun rise and fall, but still no one came. Her hands itched to work. Her eyes searched the road for customers. Yet, every evening, the only visitors were the dry leaves that danced into her shop with the wind. Then, on the 5th day, something strange happened. As Fadila was closing her salon for the night, she heard soft whispers like the murmur of women chatting in the market. But then, when she turned, the shop was empty. She frowned, thinking it was just her imagination. After all, being alone for days could play tricks on the mind. But then it happened again, the next night, and the next. Fadila told no one. She kept the door of the salon open each day, pretending not to notice the whispers that floated through the air like strings of silk. Finally, on the 7th day, a customer arrived. It was Hajiya Hannatu, the oldest woman in Garun Malam. Her back was bent, her face wrinkled like dry dates, but her eyes were sharp and curious. "I hear you braid well, girl," Hajiya Hannatu said, setting her walking stick by the door. "I am too old to fear stories. Come braid my hair. Fadila's heart swelled with relief. Her fingers moved like magic, weaving the old woman's silver hair into neat rows. When Hajiya Hanotu left the salon, she smiled and told the women in the market, Fadila's hands are gifted, spirit or no spirit. I look 10 years younger. That was all it took. The next day, 3 women came. The day after, 5. Soon, Fadila's salon became the busiest place in Garun Malam, but the whispers did not stop. Business bloomed like hibiscus flowers after rain. Fadila's salon became a place of laughter and stories. Women came for braids, henna, and advice. Children peeped in, watching their mothers transformed by Fadila's hands. But behind the joy, strange things continued to happen. Some nights, Fadila will find strands of hair on the floor, long grey hair that did not belong to any of our customers. The mirror sometimes showed flickers of movement, like someone passing behind her. But when she turned, no one was there. Ravi, still her closest friend, visited the salon often. One evening, she stayed late, helping Fadila clean up. Did you hear it? Ravi whispered. Fadila paused listening. Soft voices floated in the air again, whispers, gentle as wind brushing through grass. Yes, Fadila said quietly, but I do not fear them. That night, they made a decision. If the unseen visitors wanted peace, Fadila would give it to them. She began closing the salon before the sun dipped too low. She cleaned the shop carefully, never leaving combs or scissors scattered about. And every evening, she left a bowl of water at the door. She didn't know who drank it, but every morning the bowl was empty. Days turned into weeks. The salon grew more popular, and women from nearby villages came to visit. Fadila's hands became known far and wide. Some said her success was because of hard work. Others whispered that the spirit of Kufar Kuka had taken a liking to her and protected her shop. Fadila did not argue with either. With success came jealousy. Some people in Garun Malam started spreading new rumors. They said Fadila was not just braiding hair, she was working with things people could not see. They said her henna had secret powers that she whispered to the shadow at night. A woman named Zule, who had once tried to open her own salon but failed, became the loudest voice against Fadila. She is not normal, Zule told the market woman. No one opens a shop behind the burial ground and becomes rich without paying the price. The whisper turned to warning. Some women stopped coming to the salon, frightened by the gossip. A few even crossed the road when they saw Fadila walking by, but Fadila kept her head high. She knew the truth. Her success came from her hands, her kindness, and her courage to do what no one else would. Still, the weight of the town's talk pressed on her like heavy cloth. One night, when the moon was full, Fadila stayed in the salon longer than usual. She wanted to prepare new henna designs for her bride-to-be. As she painted the patterns onto paper, the whispers returned, but this time they were clearer, almost like voices speaking directly to her. Stay true to your work, the voices seemed to say. Do not be afraid. Respect the ground you stand on, and you will remain safe. Fadila smiled softly. I understand, she whispered back. Years passed. Fadila's salon behind Gofar Kuka became a landmark in Garun Malam. Travelers came from far places to braid their hair, get their eyebrows braided, or decorate their hands for celebrations. The story about the burial ground never truly disappeared. Some said the spirit helped Fadila, others said she was simply the bravest woman the town had ever known. Fadila didn't bother to correct anyone. She taught young girls how to braid and mix henna. She gave work to widows and poor women, teaching them how to earn with dignity. She made her salon a place of learning, beauty, and friendship. Even when she grew old, Fadila never moved her shop. The pink walls faded in the sun, but the mirror still hung, and the sound of women's laughter still echoed through the small mud house. And every evening before closing the salon, she left a bowl of water by the door, just as she had always done. Some say if you pass the salon at night, you can still hear soft whispers, the sounds of combs through hair, and the gentle laughter of women who are no longer part of this world. But in Garun Malam, no one fears these sounds anymore. They are part of the town's story now, a tale of bravery, respect, and the magic of doing honest work, even in the unlikeliest of places. Moral of the story: when courage and kindness meet, even the forgotten places bloom.